Hey, if you're watching a replay, I'm just going to wait for a few people to get online. This is an unscheduled live broadcast. So we'll see how many people actually show up. It's not showing a picture, though, on YouTube. That's weird. We shall soon find out what's going on here. All right, so we seem to have something. All right, so what's going on? So, is anybody going to show up? We'll find out in a second. So I'm just waiting for people to show up who's ever online. I just felt like streaming tonight. Hey, how are you, Squeezy? I hope you can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Or just write, I can hear you. All right, cool. You got to do a little test here. So I just felt like doing a live. So here I am. How was my day? My day wasn't bad. How was your day? I can't complain. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry, I can't read your name. All right. Ekaterina Zorbas. Hey, is my Greek friend. Hi, how are you? Saludos des Oakland, California. Hey. Well, hello from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. You have much better weather than I do, that's for sure. That's for sure. Good. You can hear me. That's good. Dragon developer. Yes, that's me. I hope everything is well. Yeah, it's my new persona now. I decided to go. I'm an ancient Dragon developer, 169 years old. That's what it is. If you don't know me, I've been developing since the 1990s. So what I try to do is I try to just bring my decades of experience to the game. Yes, good. Everybody can hear me. That's cool. I hope everybody is well. How many people are we online? A small group so far. I'm just coming on to say hello and to do a little Q&A if you have any questions. It's your time. It's going to be a short stream. Not going to be my usual hour or so. But salut. I'm in Saudi Arabia. It's 33 a.m. I can only enter at weekends. Wow. Wow. 33, that's true, eh? That's true. Saudi, yeah. What are you coding now? I guess it's late at night. From New York, hello, from New York. It's Saturday night. Hello, everyone. Matthew Boswell. My first time here, always missed because of time difference. Where are you, Fro Jr.? Where are you from? From Paris. It must be very late for you, 6 hours ahead. Is it 2 in the morning, 11 in the morning? Not 11, 2 or 3. I was going to start working, but then you go live. Hello from the PH. What is the PH? I thought Dragon Developer was like some new language. Now, maybe I should create a new programming language. Let's see what we got here. What do you think about CodeIgniter 4? I have not used CodeIgniter in many years. The people who created CodeIgniter, they gave it to some university. I think it was some college or university in BC. I would go with Laravel if I were you, unless you have a project in CodeIgniter. Been meaning to ask, as a junior developer, I struggle to read docs unless someone walks me through what could be my mistakes, or how do I approach docs alone and understand. Well, first of all, not all docs are created equal. A lot of docs, especially in open source projects, whether it be languages or frameworks, they are notoriously bad. They're really bad typically. So you may not understand docs, partly because they're just badly written. That's first thing. Second thing, it's just something that comes with practice. I have found in my career, when I teach people, when people have trouble with a particular subject, it's usually because they lack some understanding in the basics. So bone up on your basics. So if you're looking at a JavaScript framework and you're looking at the docs, maybe there's some fundamentals in JavaScript you don't understand. If it's a framework in, I don't know, Python Django framework, you're looking at docs there, maybe you're missing some elements of Python you don't understand, maybe something about the web itself. Okay, Drin says, hi from Mars. All right. At 2:38 in Munich. Wow, I'm surprised. A lot of Europeans here. Coming online. Hey, hi, Steph. How are you, Rob? I hope everything is well. Algeria. I'm from Africa, precisely Ghana. Hey, Fro. Ah, very cool. Very cool. Yes, you just got to read those docs 5 times, man. Yeah, like Matthew says, a lot of those docs are just poorly written. Just got my first job in tech as a junior QA. Any advice to a junior QA? Question and answer. Just do your job well, communicate well, continue to study. You got to think of yourself as a service provider, whether you're a software developer, whatever, at any level. And the easier you can make the people's lives around you, whether it be your clients or your coworkers or your immediate superiors, the more they're going to appreciate you, the faster you're going to move up. What do you think of people learning Ruby programming, pun intended? If there's jobs, then do it. If there's money to be made, do it. You might have talked about this already, but talking about it live would be cool. What are crucial things that a business needs to succeed? Well, the number one thing a business needs is cash. You got to have cash. Cash flow is even better, but cash is good. Cash in the bank to cover your expenses. Cash flow is actually money generated by the business. That's the first thing. As long as you have cash, the business is in business, and you can continue to pivot and to navigate to figure out what product or service is actually going to work. That's the second thing. You have to be open to pivoting and changing your ideas, changing your business products, your products, changing your services based on market reaction. That's the second thing. So cash, the ability to pivot, which means, of course, tenacity. You got to be tenacious. I always talk. It's not so much a sprint. You don't want to burn yourself, whether you're learning to code, writing software, building a business. It's more like a medium-paced jog with the occasional fast sprint back to a jog. You got to have the wherewithal to sort of, power it out over time. Cosmo is asking, are you still fasting? Yes, I do 18-hour fast almost daily now. You get used to it after a while. So I always skip breakfast, and then I'll have a very late lunch, very late, depending on the day. Sometimes it's not so late, 1 o'clock. Sometimes it's very late, 3 o'clock. And then depending on the day, like tonight I just had supper maybe half an hour ago, which is about 7:30 my time. And it was very light. It was just a burger wrapped in lettuce with some cheese. That's it. A couple of burgers, but thin patties. So yeah, I'm fasting. I'm trying to get my weight is down quite a bit. I was 212 a few months ago. I'm down to 198, 199. They fluctuate. Sometimes I go to 197. When I was training really hard, I was 195 to 200. That's when I was really training hard. Now I'm not training so hard. I do exercise daily basis, but light. And my goal is to get down to, I'm 6'2". So my goal is to get down to 190, 180, 187 or something like that. Hello, Olivera. Hi from Mexico. Hi from Canada. I hope all is well. There we go. Chad Farrington asks, hey, Stefan, how can you stop forgetting code? Write code. You just got to write code. I understand the MERN stack at the moment of learning, but I keep forgetting how things work. Is that normal? It's totally normal. You just got to keep writing code and use a good integrated development environment or a good code editor, which will give you code hinting, which will help you to remember. Once you get into it, will come. But you gotta once you understand your basics, you gotta get away from just following along on tutorials and actually building things. You gotta take that leap, and that's gonna help you to understand code. All right. How long do you think it should take to build an average 5 to 7 page website? Oh, that's really difficult because some pages can be very complex, and some pages, if you just have a headline text and a couple paragraphs, you can do that in 3 minutes, right? It depends on the complexity. Do you start from scratch with regards to the layout? Is the layout complex? Do you use a template? Are you using a framework? Are you implementing dynamic features? It's like saying, how long does it take to build a house? Well, is it a small house? Is it got 2 bedroom, 1 bedroom? Is it a mansion? It depends. I hope that helps. That's why, in my freelance course, I provide a time tracking template, which gives you all the things that you got to track. And when you use it, what happens over a few iterations, after a few projects, your ability to track time, to track what a particular, or to judge rather, what a particular project will take to build, how much time it will take, becomes much better because you're tracking things. You have to track things. All right, we'll see what we got here. We'll see what Black Jaguar has to say. I just saw your video, Developer Mastering 3 Magic Steps, minutes ago. Can you tell the right steps to learn foundations of software development? Because I am lost somehow. Thanks for the vid. Thanks, Doc. The right steps to learn foundations. Well, it's course and subject specific. So not to promote my own stuff, that's what I teach. I decided, I looked out there over the YouTube land, and I saw that vast majority of the tutorials and courses cover this framework and that framework, and they don't talk about, a lot of them don't talk about the foundations. I'm sure they're out there, but most don't. So when you're learning how to code, you have to also learn the context. That's part of the foundations. What do I mean by that? All this code that you're writing, whether it be HTML or Python or JavaScript, whatever, Java, it doesn't matter, C++, they all operate within an environment, in a context. And the code is just sending out commands to that context. So if you're writing JavaScript, most of the time, you're writing JavaScript that runs in a web browser. So you have to understand the web browser, how it works, how it processes code. And as such, because the web browser is used to communicate over the internet, you have to understand the internet and the web and how that all works. In this way, when you understand all that, something called HTTP, request response model, server and client, all this stuff, then you'll be able to write JavaScript much more cleanly. Same thing, if you're writing C++ or C code for IoT devices, you have to understand those IoT devices. What are the limitations? What are you coding for? So learning code in isolation without the context, you're not really learning much. Well, you're learning some, but it's not nearly as effective. All right, I'm learning web dev and can't find a job with my profile. 0 XPs. Making my own projects is enough to gain XPs. Well, it's a start, but what I always suggest in step 2 or step 3 of my how to get a job process is you go out there and you do 1 or 2 free little jobs. Small little website build, or maybe a WordPress update or something like that. A little shopping cart implementation, just a couple of free ones to build some skills, abilities, and to build some reputation. Yeah, it's always hard in the beginning for most people, and then it just picks up as you start getting a few more clients, because you're going to get better at understanding how to deal with clients and how to get clients. It all comes together, and then all of a sudden, it's like the process of starting a business and starting your career as a developer, whether you work for somebody, freelance, or start a business, it's slow. Then boop, you get a contract, and boop, 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 you get a lot of content. It's always like that. So you're at that beginning stage now, so don't worry about it. Here, no hate, just facts says, is it necessary to learn math and code, and is it useful when knowing how to code? Math for most coding is practically non-existent, except for add and subtract, maybe the occasional multiply. Most coding it's a logical puzzle-solving experience, not a mathematical thing. With some exceptions. Maybe if you're doing some AI research, then you got a lot of advanced math, maybe data analysis, maybe you got some math in there. But no, it's a misconception. The young nerdlings, that somehow you need a lot of math. And the reason you have that misconception is because a lot of universities and colleges want you to do math classes, because that's what the teachers teach. They teach math. So they want you to do math classes, so you pay for a math class. That's the honest truth of it. You don't need math to do most programming. I didn't say all, I said most. If you're doing AI and so on, yes, you're probably going to need math. But that's going to disappear over time, because once they figured out the mathematical equations, like in games now, you just implement the physics engine. You don't write the physics engines anymore. They're there for you just to implement. Okay. Any advice for people learning Vue.js? Make sure you know your JavaScript well. Did you balance? How did you balance? You got to elaborate on that. What quality camera are you using? I am using a very high-end camera. It's called a C300 Mark III. So it better look good because it cost me a lot of money. Thanks for that. Can you give a link to your course so to check it out? How is it structured, if I may ask? Yeah, if you look below in the this video, there should be a link to the StudioWeb courses. StudioWeb is my learning SaaS. So I developed, well, me and my team, we developed a learning software specifically to teach code. And it's used in schools all over the world. And why did we develop a software? Because learning to code with video is fine. It's good. But learning to code within a gamified, interactive, instant response, instant help environment is much, much better. So we have a course curriculum and a SaaS software that we developed in-house. And they work together. They're designed together, in fact. And we get outstanding results. Just search for StudioWeb Montreal, and you see all kinds of reviews of people, independent people on Google. I started putting it on Google a few months back because I thought that was more. It's like it's verifiable, right? It's honest. It's Google's handling the reviews. It's not my site that's handling it. Not that I would do anything, but Google's controlling that. It's public, so you can see what people think and how people respond to the courses. All right. Should simple login app written PHP 5 still work my local server that uses PHP 7? You might have to change one or two little things. I looked into that. And some of the projects that I provide are older, and I'm not a big guy in terms of the projects. Me, it's about the fundamental course. There's a lot of code that you write in the fundamental course, of course, in the fundamental courses rather. But PHP 7 is the one to use. But I did some statistics. I looked at the stats, and I think about 40% of the PHP sites in the world, which is a huge number of sites, millions of sites, still use PHP 5. So if you go out there as a contractor or get a job and you actually find yourself writing PHP, there's a 40% chance you're going to be using PHP 5. That said, when it comes to a lot of PHP, the difference between PHP 5 and 7 are really small. So if you learn PHP 5, for you to get into PHP 7, it will take you all 10 minutes to understand the difference. Just a few differences here and there, I hope that makes sense. What do you think about future of browser-based games? See, that's a business question, right? You have to ask yourself, how many people are going to want to play games in a web browser? I think your gaming platforms, there's three. There's the big rigs that people put together for high-end games. You got the PlayStations and the Xboxes, and then you got the mobile device, right? So in terms of web-based games, I guess we're talking about mobile. Maybe PWA could do it, but it's not. If I'm writing a game for a mobile device, I'm thinking I'm going to be using native, right, for the speed issues. So you got to look at it that way. Do I think web-based gaming is huge? I don't. I think it'd be a pretty niche market, just because of the way their behaviors, the way people game. Hey, it's the Dapper Foxtrot. How you doing? Apparently, I confused watching with minutes. I didn't miss it. Haha. I lost a context there. Abdul Rahim Suleiman. I am from Gans, Africa. I'm glad I found you. Well, I'm glad you found me too, and thanks for watching my stream. I appreciate it. From St. Lucia. Good day from St. Lucia. All right, how are we doing here? I'm wondering if you do sales yourself for your SaaS app, or do you hire salespeople or do cold calling? Done all of the above. Sometimes schools will contact us here directly. I make it a point to talk to schools directly and deal with the teachers and administrations. I also have sales partners in, I have some people in South Africa. I got people down in the US. So I'm partnering with other people to take care of sales as well. I took a React.js course and it was 40 hours long. Do you think it's overwhelming or it's fine? I took a React.js course. Well, whether or not it's overwhelming, that's up to you to decide. Did you learn? Do you feel it was useful to you? Ancient wisdom, much appreciated. I'm glad I could help. Thank you. How much better is Kotlin versus Java? Well, Kotlin's a much lighter, nimbler language. I equate Kotlin is to Java as Swift is to Objective-C. So Kotlin came out by JetBrains, put it together to create a language that allows you to access the massive Java library through a much easier to use syntax. And I think this year Google said the number one choice to develop Android apps in is with Kotlin, not Java. It still supports Java, but even Google saying if you want to develop native Android, go to Kotlin. So it's just a quicker, lighter version. I have not used Kotlin, but apparently you can access Java's power. It's this huge, the Java virtual machine, right? It's huge, and you got all kinds of hooks in there. So apparently you can access it all with Kotlin. Hello, Stefan. I am finishing up my degree in CS. I am beginning to apply for junior positions, internships. In your opinion, what are some examples that make a portfolio CV stand out? Make it clean and simple, and configure your portfolio, your CV according to whoever you're targeting. So if you're targeting a company that's doing, iOS and Swift development, be sure to put at the very top of your skill sets iOS and Swift related skills, and then have something on your website that shows you have those type of skills. I always tell people, once you got your basics, go out there and do a couple of free jobs for small businesses. For me, I look at, and most people will look at, experience more than anything else. So if you can even do little jobs, What do you think about the future of Ruby? I think that's a bit of a troll joke. I think Ruby will be a niche language, but it's still pretty up there in the top 10 or 20. So I don't think it's going away anytime soon. I don't know. I know they're coming out some new versions. They got to deal with some performance issues and scaling issues, I think. So anyway, Scala is the Ruby of the JVM. Yeah, many claimed it would kill Java. Today, I like to tease depressed Scala developers. Do you know Scala, Stefan? I never coded in Scala, but I've heard about Scala. People, a few years ago, you're right, people would ask me, Scala. Most languages don't go anywhere. One of my an uncle of mine, he used to manage huge projects for technology projects for the Canadian government, big multi-million-dollar budget, tens of millions. And he used to tell me that for a new technology to replace an old established technology, that new technology has to be like 10 times better. And so maybe Scala was better in some regards over Java, but apparently it was not that much better, or not better enough, All right, what are we doing here? So we're going to, 24. We're going to finish it. I'll be finishing off my stream pretty soon. What is your best advice for a beginner like me? Note that it's kind of tough out there here in Ghana for beginners to learn effectively. I need to hear from you. I really look up to you. Well, Mr. Suleiman, I would suggest that you keep writing code, learn your fundamentals. I would learn the web stack because that's where the biggest demand is, but check around your areas. What type of coders are they looking for? And learn that, and then offer your skills for free so that you can get some work experience and communicate well with people. And I know it's a little tough in the beginning. It is, but as you continue to write more and more code, building real things. Don't get caught up doing tutorials. Build real things, even little things. Many little projects are really good. That's one principle I used to emphasize, but I don't talk about it enough now. It's very important that you finish a task. If you have 5 half-built pieces of software, that's not good. You're much better off to have 2 completed pieces of software. Because like any project that has some sort of complexity, to go, you can get to 0 to 90% done seemingly in in 25% of the time. And then that last 10% will take that extra 75% of your time. So it's very important that you complete a project so it's functional, it's working, it's clean. Because it's about mental training, if you will, but it's also something you can show to people. Yeah. Let's see what this guy has to say here. What are your thoughts on Azure exams for 15? Worth doing? I don't know. I haven't seen them, so I couldn't say. Hey, Robs, this guy knows what he's talking about. Smash the like button. Give it a good shot. See, blurry fist. Anyway, all right, here's a good question, perhaps. Chris McLeod says, if you were just getting started today, would you concentrate on WordPress or vanilla HTML, CSS, JS, or some other CSS? I would learn HTML, CSS, and JavaScript foundation so you know it well. The number one reason to learn that is so that you have the nerd eyes. You have the ability so you understand what WordPress or any other CMS is actually doing behind the scenes. So then when you go, if that's your goal is to become a WordPress professional or a CMS professional, when you go into it, it won't be intimidating for you because you can understand how it all works, especially if you're doing a CMS, they're usually written PHP. So learn fundamental PHP as well, so you understand the request response model, you understand database-driven site structures and all this kind of stuff. So when you go into mostly WordPress, since it's the biggest, you understand how it works, you understand what they're doing behind the scenes, you understand the theming, you understand the plugin architecture, et cetera, et cetera. It will just make you much better at it, even if you don't write code too often. So that's my advice. Cosmo Afterlife. Have you heard of the Ada language? I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is. I read that the military still uses it. Is it still used in the commercial world? It's a niche language. I remember it like in the back of my brain, but it's a niche language. Just look at the top 10 list, top 20 list. You're going to see the usual cast of characters in terms of programming languages. And that's going to be, of course, Python and Java, JavaScript, C#, PHP, SQL. That's not a programming language, but you're going to see those are the usual languages that you're going to see up there. And that's where C, C++, of course, PHP. It's in Ruby, Python. Yeah, I said Python, but Ruby is down. Yeah, sometimes it's in the top 10, top 15. Those are the languages that are really dominating now, and they're going to stay dominant for many years to come. But again, always look at your local job market, because I know that in certain regions of the world, certain languages are more popular. So concentrate on where the money is. Sanzio, what does he have to say here? Hello, Stef, I love your channel. Keep it up, I guess. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. No hate, just facts. What are some of the apps websites that a person can build by themselves versus apps websites that need a team to be built? Well, it just depends on the complexity of the system, right? These days, because of the advanced front-end frameworks like React and Vue and Angular, and because of advanced back-end frameworks like PHP Laravel, Node, and Express.js, and Python Django, et cetera, C#.NET, you can build today as an individual much more than you did 20 years ago, because all these tools, all these libraries and frameworks that just make it so easy to put it all together. So you can build a lot. So if you have an idea for a piece of software you might want to put into the marketplace, you could probably write the prototype, a rough prototype yourself, just show basic functions. and get it out there and see whether or not you get some bites on it. Is Ben Falk doing fine? Yes, he is. Actually, he still works with me. He's actually doing the reskins on. We reskinned the StudioWeb when we released StudioWeb 5. We did a brand new skin for it. He built that out for me. I worked with him on that one. He did the reskins for the front StudioWeb.com. He skinned that up, and I art direct, but he's the guy who implements it. He's really talented UX guy, UI guy. And he's doing a few other things now for UI for me right now. He freelances now. Oh, yeah. What do you think about the DeFi industry? Don't know it. Hi, Stefan. What do you think of Oracle? Do you think Oracle is killing Java? No, they've woken up now. I know they have. Oracle has. So they're now doing updates. They're doing updates on a regular basis, more regular, like every 6 months as opposed to every 2 years, which is good. Java's so big, it's not going anywhere. It's just so big. I wouldn't use, and I love Java. I did more coding in Java than any language because I was writing Java code in the 90s when it was the hot new language, and it was. But I wouldn't write anything new in Java because there's just much faster, nimbler alternatives like PHP, like JavaScript, like Python, Ruby even. I would write something in Ruby for a web client before I do it in Java, even though I much prefer Java. Java is a more solid language, just too slow to write with. Java runs fast, but it's slow to write with. My mentor mentioned to do vanilla JS course for 900. I currently work as a developer for a nonprofit for his job. Should I do the course? I feel like I know a decent amount of JavaScript already. That's an expensive JS course. If he's paying for it, then let him pay. Then do it. Check out my JS course for $20. I think you probably learn just as much, if not much more. Do you plan to come to Europe anytime soon? Yeah, well, as soon as the COVID breaks. My brother lives in Ireland, and I like London a lot. I like to explore Paris as well. I like London a lot, but no plans in the immediate future due to the pandemic, Birani says, I want to quit college and learn alone coding. What do you think? Well, it depends think about your job, where you want to go work. Because if you want to work for large businesses, having a degree is very important still, although I think that's diminishing over time. So think about that first. Think about your career options 3, 4 years from now, 5 years from now. If you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, you're thinking about freelancing, small company, then you may not need it. Also, does it cost you money? Does it not cost you money? Depends where you are. If you tell me you're going into debt and so on, you just want to be a developer, then I would say, no, don't go to college. Just start writing code. Dean Kamali says, what's your thoughts on MongoDB? I've asked a number of developers about it. Generally, they don't like it, even though they haven't used it. All right. I think Mongo, I heard, is a very mature product, but I think for most data storage, database work, you're going to use some sort of SQL-based system. Again, it depends on the job. I like NoSQL databases when you have a lot of data that you need to store quickly, but you don't have very many relationships to maintain. If your data has a lot of relationships, like let's say a shopping system where you got to have products related to shopping carts, related to clients, related to dates, then you're much better off with SQL, I would imagine. So it depends on the project. But generally speaking, I think that SQL-based databases are far more often, are used far more often, because prior to NoSQL, we did do a very basic version of that called flat files. So it's nothing new in that regard. Would a future need more programmers with knowledge on machine learning? I think so. I think machine learning is just starting, but I think as the basic libraries, the core libraries of machine learning are built, I think they're going to need more implementers rather than the scientists developing the algos. Do you have any advice for a first-year computer science student looking for a summer co-op? Yeah, just start reaching out to companies and make sure your resume is clean. Emphasize the skills that they're looking for. So if they're a Python Django house, don't put that Java at the top. Learn a little bit of Python, and say I learned Python because I want to come and do a stage with you guys, JF Oracle hired Brian Goetz, who is doing a great job for Java. In my opinion, not a fan of Oracle though. There you go. If you were going to start taking on clients for free, would you recommend hosting your sites for free? No, you don't host for free. You just do one or two. This is temporary, just to develop a bit of reputation, a little bit of real world skills. That's all. It's a very short time frame, so I would not be paying for hosting. No. And if they ask you to pay for the hosting, tell them to take a walk because they're not being very nice there. I'm using clean terminology. Hold on. I like to, but I've only tried hosting with AWS so far, which is money out of my pocket. No, you don't want to, even if you got like a VPS that costs you $30 a month and you can put unlimited sites, you don't want that responsibility of hosting their sites. If the site goes down, they're going to be calling up and complaining, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you better be paid for that. So no, you don't pay for their hosting. You don't do their hosting. It's a big, you're asking for trouble there. You're asking for trouble. Remember, again, the free work that I talk about is only a step to an end. And the end is to, I'm just checking my time left. I'm running on battery on this camera. So you don't want to, this free stuff is very short-term thing. Very short, it's a few months you're doing some free work, and then you start doing real work. It's just to develop some skills with real projects, managing clients, and to build a little portfolio for real clients. That's all it is, very temporary. So no, you don't want to take care of our hosting for free. You don't want to take care of our hosting. Yeah. I've seen you talking about Apache and cPanel. How does it work? Any videos recommended in yours or others? Thank you. Yeah, well, cPanel is just, I don't know if it's still the most popular. It used to be the most popular web-based control panel for hosting. It's just point and click, set up an email, set up a new database, log into the database and change this, change that, and all kinds of other capabilities. Set up your firewall, install SSL. They make it really easy. I believe kind of a hybrid managed VPS with some sort of control panel. I can do things command line and stuff, but why not just go click, 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 right? Even DigitalOcean, which is now providing more full service, white glove service for their hosting. And they're pretty sophisticated. They just announced it, so they're going to take care of your SSL and updating stuff. Just last year or 2 years ago, I've been using them for years. You have to do it all yourself. What a pain in the nut. What a pain. All right, I have to wrap this up soon. Do you prefer OOP programming language or functional programming languages and why? I haven't done much functional programming, so I can't judge on that. OOP is what I do, OOP and procedural. OOP for any projects of any complexity. Although I use a subset of OOP, like I don't, for example, don't believe in inheritance most of the time. I think inheritance makes your code more brittle, which goes against the whole point of using OO languages in the first place. I've talked about this in other videos. So I do like OO, but kind of using it with a light touch, if you will. But I would have to get into that in another video. You find on YouTube where I talk about that, Have you heard of software which allow you to build web apps without having to code the back end by yourself? What are your thoughts? Yeah, these things have been around for a long time. I'm sure they're getting better. And they're usually good for prototyping or very simple things. But, they're just tools in the tool belt. You can use them or not use them. Yeah. Again, the problem with those non-code apps, like anybody who knows anything about running apps over time, as I have on multiple occasions, there's always needs for updates and bug fixes and tweaks and really weird things. And the problem with the no-code building systems, as soon as you go outside of the parameters that they specify, if you're staying in their lane, if you will, it'll work really well. But as soon as you have to do something a little outside of the framework, it's a big mess typically. So they could be, like I said, good for prototyping, smallish projects, perhaps, But I haven't looked at all of them out there. Yeah. Software architecture matters. OOP rocks. Maintenance is easy. That's the key. One of the things that really differentiates great software and not so great is its maintainability. Writing clean, simple, fine-grained, granular code. It's all about maintainability. You could write the crappiest code base and it will work. And it will be fairly performant these days for most applications because computers are just so fast and languages are just so fast, even the interpreted languages. But the key is, when you want to update them, that's when it becomes a disaster. All right. Smashing the like button. Don't fast too much. You will faint and you won't make any streams to like. No. I break it up. All right, so I'm going to have to let you guys go now because it's my camera is going to be going offline too. It's been 40 minutes already. Wow, time flies. So I hope you liked the stream. Small group tonight, only 70 people. That's cool. Give me a thumbs up. There's only 28 thumbs up, and so if you can give me a thumbs up, that would be great. I appreciate that because that tells the YouTube algo that this stream is worthy of watching. So I appreciate that very much. And let's see. I'll see if I'll scan any thumbs up. Yeah, Rob, come on. Rob's there. Have a good as always. Thanks for dropping by, everybody. One last question from Africa. Hi, I am African living in Kenya. There isn't tons of developers. Could that be an opportunity? Yeah, I think so. I think Africa is in terms of economy, is the fastest growing continent, I think by far. So I think depending where you are, I don't know about Kenya specifically. I think Kenya is doing pretty good. I think you got a lot of growth, especially over the next 5-10 years. You're rocket ships. So if you got some good tech skills, you'll be in a good position for sure. All right, guys. I'll just say thanks. Got your stream announcement a little late. I know. I pre-planned it. I put it out like 5-10 minutes in advance. Last time I planned it like a half an hour in advance. Nobody gets any notifications. I don't understand why. All right, guys. Thanks for joining, and we shall talk soon. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this stream, and we'll talk soon, I'm sure. Well, hold on. I'll give you my ASMR. There we go.